And we're live.
Hey, welcome
Hey,
back
everyone.
to Pacecast. Another episode this week. Welcome to Pacecast. This is our weekly podcast with myself, Tijs from NJRC, and then James on the other side from RC Boss and Pace. This is our weekly podcast. We're doing this live every Tuesday night, 7 UK time, 8 for myself here in the Netherlands. And again, we have a pretty busy schedule for tonight to talk about. So we have some news, some good news. Unfortunately, also some bad news.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say thank you very much for people who are submitting some events, some things that happened over the past couple weekends with some pictures and some information. That's super appreciated. And we'll definitely give you a shout out on the stream.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the really cool thing as well, Tijs, is the fact that I'm getting to learn about drift competitions I otherwise wouldn't have seen. They wouldn't have appeared in my feed. And it's super cool. So thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, and also a quick shout out to everyone on the live stream. Bauke is already asking for it.
Yeah.
So hello.
Every week, Bauke.
One of the first people to watch. We also have the live chat going on. So if you have any comments or questions about anything we're discussing tonight, feel free to give your input. If we don't get to your question this week, then we'll leave it for next week. Today we have some news, a few products, a couple different events, some news about some circuits. That's it for today. Let's kick it off, I would say.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll start. I got a nice package from Overdose this morning, which was rather nice. And I finally got my hands on the T7Rs. Admittedly, just the white ones. I haven't got the coloured ones yet. But I'm stoked because I've been waiting for these since they came out. So I'm super happy. I bought, what did I get? 4 sets of them so that I can run, or 4 pairs, so I can run them for quite some time. These wheels.
Are these the high traction ones
we
talked about
a
couple weeks ago?
They're the R specs. So they're just the white version of the coloured ones we spoke about in, I think it was episode 2, maybe 1. But yeah, so I'm super stoked for them because I just love running the white wheels, and R spec is always good for me. But so I managed to get these. And I also got myself a couple of the new curved racks, which again, they've been out a little while, but unfortunately I haven't been able to get hold of them. I've had other stuff going on in life at the moment, and I forgot to order them early enough. So luckily they managed to hold on to some and send them out to me, which was kind of nice. I've got the rail itself, just so I can swap that straight onto my Garm, and then I've also got the full purple complete rack, which will be going on my Vacula too, because currently it's got a curved rack with a black base, and I figured I might as well get a purple one, and then I can sell the black one and swap them over and have it a lot nicer looking.
This is the new rack with the extra options. For
so it's got
settings and so on, right?
It's got the extra holes, which I don't think you're going to be able to see on the camera, and unfortunately I forgot to queue up a picture of it. It's got the extra inner hole that you can basically, when you've got a Type 2 front bulkhead, you can use an extra hole inwards to give yourself even more clearance with the bulkhead, and then you can run longer steering rods, which means less bump steer and a bit more stability on the front end, as well as more Ackerman options, which is always good. Super. I'll be trying all this stuff out at Drift Essex on Saturday. But one of the other things I got, or more to the point, 3 of them, I got a new T-shirt, which is always good. I got it in the white, the navy, and the black, which is all the options they offer. So I'm stoked for that because I do like my Overdose T-shirts. I only went for the short sleeve version because that's what I prefer, but they actually make long sleeve versions too, which is for other people, not for me. I get too hot for long sleeves. But yeah.
So that's on the topic of shirts. I mean, more came in, so
yeah.
Just a quick shout out on
Tijs City. And how do you like it?
Good. It's very nice. It's very soft.
That's what we like to hear. But yeah, so that's my little package anyway. It's only a little one from Overdose. I've got some more stuff on the way, but it's arrived in time for Drift Essex, which is good because it's my sort of preferred test track because I know it very well. I know the carpet, I know the tyres, and they don't treat it, so it's pretty consistent, so you know what you're getting. So that means I can test out the steering or the rack with good consistency, and I also get to play around with high traction wheels, which is always good. It's never a bad thing.
So I guess next week we'll hear about how those went, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how comfy the T-shirt was as well. But
Right.
yeah. And what have you been up to anyway, Tijs?
I competed in D1-10 last weekend. So on Sunday we had the first round of the D1-10 Netherlands series. So yeah, I competed again. I also competed in the last 1 or 2 rounds last year. So yeah, and this was the first time with my new setup on my GOM. So that
Yeah.
was interesting. I have the new Type 2 knuckles on them since cookies a few weeks ago, or actually maybe, what is it, like more than a month ago already.
Yeah.
And all of the settings as well from cookies. The only thing I changed was my FDR back to a more carpet-friendly setting. And it was actually really good. All of the issues I had before, they were gone. So
Yes.
I can actually...
That's what a weekend at cookies does. Lets you dial in the car properly.
I mean, 4 days of tuning, that will get you there for sure.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, we had the first round of this year, and actually this was an interesting one because this was the last one that Michel and Owen were organizing. So basically, Owen has been doing this for about 15 years or so. If you've ever been to the Worlds, you've also seen him as one of the judges. So yeah, he's been the founder of D1-10 basically, and we've gone through a couple changes. The most recent one I've been involved in as well for quite a few years, and now this was the last round by them, and Arno will be continuing. So for the last couple rounds for this year, or the next few rounds, we'll have a completely different setup, I guess. And I'm very looking forward to seeing what Arno and whoever else is going to be involved will do with it.
So how many rounds will it be in 2020 then with the change?
That's a good question.
Oh, it's open-ended.
Everything's open-ended.
Okay, fair enough.
So basically, this was the last round with the current setup, and then the new setup will completely have to be figured out from scratch, basically. I'm sure some elements will be kept, but the idea of having multiple locations will probably come back if possible.
Yeah.
Judging criteria, weight, anything will change probably.
Yeah, just a full sort of sweep of changes.
Exactly, a bit of an update too, to sort of fit more with the modern style.
How many drivers were in the competition at the weekend?
I think this weekend we had 26.
Okay.
So that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
What usually happens is that we have a couple foreign drivers, which also was the case this time. A few guys from Germany, from Belgium, a few guys from Ukraine actually came to visit. They are on the DS Racing team for Ukraine.
Cool.
And they are sort of doing a little tour, so they were in Germany as well. They'll go to Belgium, and they came to a Tory circuit for the D1-10 to compete.
Arno's saying in chat it will be 5 rounds or so that's good.
5 rounds or so, yeah.
Still, it's always open-ended.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah,
man.
so that was the competition side. We always do best body too. Actually,
which I'm assuming this is the picture we're looking at.
Exactly, yeah. So Owen asked me to do a bit of the judging there because I used to do that back in the days. So it was a bit of an old school day for us. But this was the winning car, and I mean, I don't really have to explain why, right? I mean, you can see the details. This is Martin Lansing's JZX 100. And the only thing you sort of miss in this picture is that the complete rear window is cut out. It has a trunk full of scale batteries and fuel pumps and a fuel cell and everything to scale.
He knows how to make a body, that's for sure.
Exactly. I mean, it's very hard to compete with that. So much detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you do?
For myself, yeah, I did pretty good. The tricky thing I always have is that when you're practicing, you have plenty of cars on the track and it's noisy. And then when you actually do your qualifying round, you can actually hear your throttle and your motor, and it completely throws you off. But it was all right. I qualified 6th, I think, and then made it to top 4 and then lost twice. So 4th place it was.
Who did you lose to?
First to Xander. He's been the champ for 2 years in a row already, so that was not really a big surprise. And then after that to Stanislav. He's one of the Megadrome guys from Germany. So he's ridiculously fast. I just couldn't keep up. So that got the better of me. So yeah, first place was for Sander. He actually he also did top qualifier in points anyway, together with Tommy. And then second was Griffin. He came over from Belgium. And then third place was Stanislav. So we have a very diverse podium there. Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany all in one podium.
So it's a good event then?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I quite enjoyed it actually.
I think we've also
The,
got a video of, is it Xander's qualifying lap or?
this is Marilyn, so this is
Okay.
Sander's teammate. Yeah, but Sander made the video actually. But yeah, you can see the layout here.
Yeah, it's cool. It's always good to see a video of the lap.
Yeah, it's pretty tight. All the yellow boxes and tapes there, all of the clipping points to hit. But yeah, as you can see, it's actually quite a lot of corners and pretty tight. So it was quite tricky to do this well, especially with some of the pretty high speeds that we can get now with these cars. So
I was going to say, so it's not such a high speed lap, that's for sure. It's
so
maybe a high grip lap, but it's not high speed. It's there's no time to build speed before you have to turn again, I guess, is the right way of saying it.
Having a lot of traction on a YD2 or even my car is maybe a bit too much sometimes, but it works. As long as you do it easy, then it's fine.
So you're happy with your car for the weekend then?
So far, so good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to driving it more on bigger tracks, so I can actually build some speed. Because that's what we've been doing at Cookies, so that's what it's set up for at the moment. So I think there it will be even better.
Oh, I have a good tip for you as well for that problem you were mentioning with about not being able to hear your car in practice, but then hearing it. Just get an overdose version 3 motor, and then you hear it all the time. It's one of the reasons
nobody hears theirs.
But you don't need other people to hear theirs. You just need to hear yours.
True.
Unless everyone's running it, and then there's a problem.
or headphones. That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
Just don't hear it at all. Just go pure by feeling and what you see.
We got a couple of questions from what we've already talked about in chat. One of the questions is, longer steering rods give you less bump steer? Yes, they do. The same as longer camber links on the rear will give you less camber change. The idea is that the longer they are, the smaller the radius they move in, essentially. So they change less as you're going through the suspension travel. You'll get less change. So the longer the steering rod, the better it is for bump steer for sure. You can obviously get rid of bump steer with other ways, but if you have the option to run a longer steering rod, then it's definitely worth doing, as long as it doesn't cause you any other problems. And the other question was, what do we mean by treating the carpet? Basically, in the UK at the moment, there's a big trend, and it's been done everywhere, but over here, a lot of tracks will spray the carpet with silicone or WD-40 or something to literally make the carpet more slippery than it is. I personally hate it. I don't enjoy driving on tracks, and actually I've recently just stopped driving on those tracks because I think it's very negative for your driving skill, because every time you do a lap you get a different amount of grip depending on whether other cars have run on the same line or a different line, and you'll often go into a corner and find there's no grip, whereas 2 laps before there was loads of grip. And it's just that the surface has been run on differently, and whatever's on the surface has been moved or removed put on tires. So yeah, I'm really not a fan. And for me, it's always better to just have consistent grip. So I'd rather the track was faster but consistent than slower because of essentially oil on the track. That then changes. So I'll go to a practice day at many tracks in the UK, and there's you start the day and there's no grip whatsoever, and the car will just you'll apply the brakes halfway down the straight and slide to the outside of the first corner, and then an hour later or 2 hours later you go down that straight and you're double the speed and you fly into the corner and you've got all the grip because the treatment has worn off. But then if you run 5 centimeters outside on a different line, you've suddenly got no grip again. And it's not for me. But anyway, yeah, that's what we meant by treatment. Another question that's just come in is, what's the best compound for carpet? It varies massively depending on what type of carpet you've got. And but as a general rule, my favorite is MST Silver Dots. They work on most carpets better than many tires work on many different carpets. So for me, I'm not a fan of DS tires. They heat up too easily. They're also often not round, and they introduce lots of vibration and wheel wobble and things to chassis that you don't need to have. They work okay, and if everyone's on them, it's fine. I'd rather run MST Silver Dots. I haven't, as we talked about the other week, there's also now the MST White Dot, but I still haven't tried those. I'm hoping to try them this weekend, but I'm not sure that I'll be able to get some in time. And then,
and I think it also really depends on what kind of carpet it is, because what we're used to here in Europe, at least, is that most of the carpets, or pretty much everything you buy off the shelf anyway, is treated with a fire retardant in it, or any other chemicals like dye for
Yeah.
the color or anything else. And what usually happens is that if you have a lot of wheel speed, your tires heat up because of these chemicals. So it really depends also on what kind of carpet you have. If you don't have those chemicals in it, maybe a lot of other tires will work better than they do on the carpet we have here in Europe.
Yeah,
because they just don't heat up as much.
I was also going to say that I've used Topline HDPE Alpha, the Alpha version, with good success in a couple of places, including using the old soil RC carpet and RCDC rounds in Japan. It was possible to heat them up, but you had to really try to heat them up. And if you just kept lapping at normal speeds, you wouldn't have a problem. You had to really lower your FDR and go crazy. It's basically the same with the silver dots. If you work to heat them up, you can, but if you just drive normally, they're fine. You know, you might build a little heat if you drive hard, but it's as good as any tire gets that we can readily get hold of in Europe. Yeah.
And also the tires actually themselves, they last a long.
Yeah.
For the silver dots.
Yeah.
So you can use them for years, which is great.
Yeah. And they're always round as well. They're always smooth.
And they come off the wheels, which is also a nice thing. You keep them on with O-rings or something like that, and you can just easily swap them out.
Yeah, I really hope the white dots are all the same positives from the silver dots, but we'll hopefully I'll find out this weekend. Comment in the chat as well is that they've noticed in Finland when they switch to black carpet, they get more grip. So it varies a lot. It varies a lot by manufacturer of carpet, and to be perfectly honest, it's by batch as well. There's been a couple of tracks in the UK. I'll just adjust that. Okay. The couple of the tracks in the UK bought the same carpet from the same shop, but at different times, and then they ended up with very different grip levels because just different batch. You know, it's not when factories are making carpet, they're not really thinking about how RC drift cars are going to behave on their carpet that week. So does it look the same? Is it going to rip?
Yeah,
and hopefully my levels are better there, Palka. So let me know if it still needs tweaking. I'm trying out a new mic this week. So
the black carpet is probably just treated differently.
Yeah.
If you look at, for example, the world's carpet, which a lot of people will know, that one's the gray version, simply because the black one indeed has more grip. That one has been treated with some dyes and maybe some other chemicals to keep the color in, so it won't fade. And that's why you probably have more grip. It just heats up much quicker.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, well, speaking of Finland, we were sent some information about the Finnish Drift Championship. Their first round. Unfortunately, I'm not going to attempt to say many of these names and places because there's no way I'll get it right. My understanding of the Finnish language is not the greatest. Apart from some rally driver names, that's about all I know, unfortunately. But yeah, so they had their first round. And they were, as we were just talking about tires, they're running on the DS Quad F Mark IIs, which I think most people will have tried by now.
It's also the same tire as the D1-10 Netherlands Championship runs on at the moment.
Yeah. So that's what you used at the weekend. So yeah, exactly. I think I'm not 100% sure on the information that I was sent. I've put this image up because you can see the layout there, which I think is the layout they ran. But I don't have a full track photo to confirm that. But it looks a bit like mayhem to me. Is all I'll say. And from the only image I've got, it kind of looks like they probably did run that, which is kind of cool if it worked well. But yeah, it looks like they had a pretty good competition. They only had 15 drivers, which is not ideal. But it meant that the top qualifier, Rasmus Saarinen, I think is how you say his name, he managed to get a bye. But they do actually, I've put a link down in the description below the video to their Facebook post that explains what happened, because I figured rather than just read it to you, everyone can read it themselves and go and like the page and give them a bit of support. So yeah, we have a link down below if you want to go and check it out.
I already did a quick look actually before we went live, and I do have to say I'm very impressed with all the graphics and stuff on their page.
Yeah,
It
it's
looks
really nice to
very
see.
professional.
Although the only thing I will comment for this image that I've just put up of the standings, if you could make the names bigger, that makes it a lot easier to share than something like this. It's easier to read on a phone. Yeah, the background is nice and all, but it's better to be able to read the names easier. But yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have a load of info, but there's all the info you need is on their Facebook page, along with some pretty nice photos as well.
Yeah, so at least thanks for sending this in, because this is exactly what we need
this
to
is
fill the content.
But this is also something I wouldn't have spotted. I did like the page, but I never get any notifications from Facebook about the page. So unfortunately, it doesn't appear in my feed, so I don't get to see it otherwise. So it's good to get it sort of brought to my attention at least, and then it means we can share it too. And then after this, we also were sent information about the Easy Made Drift Championship in Russia. They had their first round on the 29th of February in Moscow, and they had 38 drivers, which is a pretty good turnout.
That's pretty big, yeah. And yeah, I guess everyone also knows Easy Made. They were also at the Worlds a few years ago. Anton, so also a cool guy. And he puts on these events now, and usually it looks amazing.
Yeah, and one of the guys now living in the UK, Maxim, is an Easy Made driver as well, and I think it's all pretty well run as well. They seem to do a pretty good event, which is kind of cool. But they had 38 drivers, and they also do a team championship, which is kind of cool, which I guess is like triple drift team style, or maybe two drivers, but sort of tandem style rather than battles, which is kind of cool.
Or actual teams. I don't know. Like
yeah, judging from the pictures, I think, unless I'm mistaken, maybe they're not matching. But yeah, I thought they were. I thought this image was of two team cars, but obviously not. But yeah, either way, it's kind of cool to have two championships running. You got the drivers' championship and a team championship. I'm a big fan of team style driving, so I think more championships should do it. So Arno, if you want a tip for D1-10, start a triple drift. That's what you need. But yeah, so they said it wasn't a very big track, but it was a fun event, which is kind of cool. It's what you need, really. I mean, you can see in some of these pictures the carpet is a little bit rippled, but they got nice medals, which is good. And they've got the top three drivers, which I can't see. I had the names written down, but I can't spot it right now.
I have them right here if you want.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'll let you go for the pronunciation.
Yeah. Yeah, so first place we had Alexei. Second, this is a difficult one. Vyacheslav. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He's actually also the guy who sent in the information, right? So thanks very much for that. And then third place is Pavel. So that's the three guys. I see the team D Art being represented well there with the two yellow cars on the outside.
Yep.
And then Alexei also had top qualifier, so it was a good event for him.
Yeah, and they were also using DS tires, although they haven't specified which ones.
Yeah, they were the ones from the Worlds last year, but I really cannot remember which ones exactly they were.
Okay.
But yeah, real drive only for this competition, which seems to be the trend at the moment. Not really a bad thing, I think.
No, I think for competitions, it's better to keep it simple, isn't it?
Exactly. And I was also very surprised by the lineup of the cars in the top three. Which is nice because they actually sent that along as well. That's information I usually don't get to see.
Yep.
But it's actually super interesting. First place, Alexei, he drove a en route chassis, which is something I haven't seen for a long time.
I've seen them, but I haven't seen them in competitions.
I haven't seen any since like 2014 or something, or 15.
They were pretty popular in Norway in 2014, I think.
Yeah, and in Russia, I've seen many of the builds coming from there. And yeah, a few in Japan, but it's cool to see them still in action. It's something very unusual, and if it wins you a competition, especially with 38 drivers, it must still be pretty.
I was going to say you've got to be doing something pretty well.
Yeah, and then second place we had a drift package with the D Art conversion on it. So this is pretty cool. I followed the guys from D Art on Instagram, and they actually 3D print a bunch of parts, and I think also some CNCing on the chassis plates and stuff. But basically, they changed the complete chassis to something else.
Yeah,
with more updated designs, all homemade. So that's cool. And apparently
that is
also,
pretty cool.
Second place, it worked good.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out at some point.
Yeah, and then third place was a YD2.
Yeah,
as usual.
yeah.
There must be one in there somewhere always, right?
At least it was purple.
Good choice.
But they have also commented that most of the other cars were YD2s and RMXs, which is kind of what you expect these days, isn't it? And the next round's going to be 28th of March in Moscow, but it's going to be concrete this time. So yeah, anyone that attends, send us some video because that would be kind of cool to see, I think. Moscow's
nice to see them switch it up as well, going from carpet to concrete.
I haven't seen that much drifting from Russia lately. I used to see a fair bit with some friends that we had over there, but yeah, not so much anymore. So it'd be good to see some more.
All right, and then we also have some product news this week.
Yes, we do. Oh, actually, I've just realised I've also got standings, but unfortunately, I can't read most of it because it's in the Russian alphabet. So let's for anyone that can, there you go. There's some nice points for people. But yeah, so let's kick it off, I guess, with your recent discovery.
Yeah, I was actually super surprised to see this. If anyone's looking at the picture, you probably will say, these are the Mikuni work equip wheels, or equip, whatever you want to call them. But they're not. Actually, they have been, I think, reproduced. They look exactly the same as the Mikuni ones, but they're by a company called Lab Customs in Japan. And I think these have been available for a while already.
Yeah.
The normal works, but they also have some high traction version of them, which is super cool. I think like myself, probably a lot of people haven't spotted these yet. I know that Yujin posted about them today or yesterday.
Okay.
But I know these wheels have been sought after for quite a while. A lot of people were posting on the Facebook groups, searching for these work wheels, this specific model. So it's great to see them back available again, and then also in a high traction. So if you want to use that, there you go.
Well, it also looks pretty interesting because it looks like they do two different versions of rim. So you've got a deep dish and a less deep dish.
Yeah, I don't know if this might be just the offset. They have two different offsets, a 6 and an 8 mil. So maybe deep rim means
probably. I'm sure that's all it is, but it's kind of cool to see that it's not just the difference in offset; it is actually a difference in wheel face design, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so you can play around with that a little bit, but I'm very curious to see these. So these are the other model. These have been available for a while. Also, these look pretty similar to the Mikuni wheels we saw before.
Yeah.
These are the work Genosis. So again, another classic work wheel design.
Yeah.
Which I'm also happy that it's back because these look great on a bunch of different cars.
Yeah, for sure. I'm more a fan of the equips, but that's just because I like chunky 5-spoke over the more delicate ones.
If you have a Haraguchi FC, then you need a set of those for sure.
Yeah, that would certainly do. Although I do have VSKFs waiting. Just saying.
Yeah. So I'm also curious to see the difference between all of the high traction wheels because in the past couple of weeks we've mentioned pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
From multiple different brands now.
Yeah.
So I would be very interested to see a comparison, to see what kind of stiffness and stuff.
I'm also interested to work out which ones are sort of the most reliable and long lasting, because I'm sure some of them are just soft plastic and not that well thought out because it's a bit of a sort of trend and maybe a bit of a fad. Everyone's sort of keen to get some out on the market, and I have a feeling that some of them are just making a slightly softer mix of plastic that maybe with any heat or even tire heat maybe might end up not coming out quite round. The overdose ones I've had no problems with, and I've seen some issues with the Yokomo ones not lasting that long, but that seems to be brute force is the problem with them, is all I'll say. There's some users that are breaking them that are going pretty hard, so maybe that's forgivable.
But, I think if you do like they do on the pictures and squeeze them really tight, I'm sure that will not last very long for the wheels either.
Yeah,
it's good as a demonstration, but if you get a set of those wheels, don't try it and don't demonstrate because you might end up with egg-shaped wheels. But
yes, yeah.
So I'll definitely be ordering at least the MST one. To give it a try. But who knows if anyone has any of the other ones? I'm super interested to see a comparison.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'll definitely be testing the MST ones as well against the Overdose T7Rs as well as the CRs, the Kiwamis that I've been running since before they came out. So yeah, I've been very happy with them. I've just got a bit bored of running the same wheel for a long time. So I mixed it up with the new design, and now I've got the T7R, which incidentally is my favorite work design at the moment. So that's a very good sign for me. So I'll be running these until I get hold of the fluorescent versions for sure.
Are the fluorescent versions also high traction?
Yes.
Also the soft one?
Yes.
Good.
So yeah, that should be pretty good. Onto slightly less positive news.
Yeah, unfortunately, some stuff has gotten postponed due to what has been in the news everywhere, I think, at the moment.
Yes.
The COVID-19 coronavirus.
Yep, that fun
so
stuff.
It's starting to influence our hobby as well, unfortunately. I'm sure lots of people have already experienced delays in shipments or even things being out of stock because of production being halted or something like that.
Yeah.
But even closer to home, it's now affecting it as well. The picture you see up is from the Italian Sidewayz competition, which unfortunately has also been postponed. The event is held in Milan, which is in the north of Italy, and unfortunately, that whole area has been affected really bad, or at least there's a lot of countermeasures in place.
Yeah.
Which on the one hand is good because nobody wants this to get out of hand any more than it already is. But it does mean that there are some quite extreme measures going on. This event was going to be in April, which is not too long from now anymore. So it's very good that they postponed it, and I really hope that by then all of the issues and stuff have cleared up.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because you attended this event, was it last year, you said?
Yeah, last year I was there as well. Just like a lot of other people.
Yeah,
as you can see,
it's
it was quite
pretty big event.
A big group. I think there was about 100 drivers there, maybe a few less, but close to 100 from all over the place. I wasn't the only Dutch guy there. I think we were there with 3 people from Belgium, from Vicky and the guys from Czech and around there. Bit of everything. Even some of the drivers from Yokomo from Japan were there. So it was a really nice event, actually.
Yeah.
It was on painted concrete, I think, something like that. Pretty hard surface, pretty slippery.
Yeah.
Track surface didn't look too pretty. It's bright orange, but the track layouts and stuff, they were really good. The judging was good. Quite a long weekend, so you had plenty of time to drive with the practice track right next to the competition one. So it was all in all a really, really good event. So it would be a shame if it would be cancelled completely. Yeah, I really hope they can.
It's definitely
back on in
September. Another event that is on my list of ones to go to. Unfortunately, in September, I definitely won't be able to attend. But yeah, that's a shame. But
it is.
At least it's postponed and not cancelled. That's the most important thing, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So I really hope that by September situations have improved a lot, and it'll be safe for everyone to go. But yeah, it's a shame. I mean, you and I also were supposed to go to another event, maybe.
Yeah,
we also cancelled for exactly the same reasons.
In discussions to judge an international competition, but unfortunately, the way things are looking, I think it's a bit risky to plan an event in 1-2 months' time without knowing what's going to happen. And I think also the chances of a good turnout from international drivers is pretty rare at the moment. I think a lot of people, if you following the news and following advice that's being given out, they're recommending not to travel unless you have to. And I think there's maybe going to be more countermeasures and restrictions put in place, particularly in the UK, in the coming months. And if I was to go to a country where there's an outbreak, am I going to have to come back and go into quarantine for 2 weeks or something like that? That's going to affect work and family and everything like that. So unfortunately, well, we both decided it was for the best to pull out of that opportunity at the moment and do it next time, just to save hassle and save letting people down. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, even here as well. Actually, my region, my province here, has had the most extreme so far countermeasures in the basically anyone with a bit of a cough or who's sneezing is supposed to stay home. Also today at work, it was very quiet. So it's getting pretty serious. So I think it was a smart decision to to pull out of these events.
Yeah.
Not necessarily risking getting sick, but indeed, like you say, risking not being able to get home, or once you get home, having to be quarantined for 14 days or something like that.
Yeah, or having the event cancelled last minute and losing booking fees and costs to travel and everything like that. It's just all in all, it's kind of the signs point to maybe just hold off, I think, for international events. For now at least. Local events is obviously no problem, and we'll all be attending them. But yeah, for when you've got to go through airports, and I'm not that confident in my government to make sensible measures, let's put it that way. So I expect there to be some over the top reactions to show that they're doing something. Not to make it in any way political, but there's probably going to be things happen that we don't need, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I don't want to be a part of that.
Nope. Or get stuck as a result of that, for sure.
Exactly.
So I would say on to more positive news, but it's actually, for me, it's on to more depressing news. And that's that my favorite drift track in all of the world, RC Pro Shop Shift in Japan, is closing at the end of this month.
So last week we talked about how Iroha has opened up again. So that was very good news. Unfortunately, this is sad.
This is essentially for the same reason that Iroha closed, that the landlord is putting the rent up and the space that they use. So unfortunately, they've got to close. They've just announced that they're closing. They're not announcing that they're looking for a new place or that there's any hope of reopening. But I hope with all of my heart that they even if they take a break and then open another track, or some of the regular drivers there open another track, because it is, like I say, my absolute favorite track, and it has been since my first trip to Japan. It's also the track that I've spent the most time in Japan. I spent in 2018 I spent a week there. I was lucky enough to go to Japan several times that year, so I just booked a couple of days on each trip and made sure I was at Shift as much as possible, because it's the track that I learn the most and I level up the most at. So for me, it's got the most value, and it's just awesome guys. Lots of guys I've known for years now, which I'm sure I get to see at different tracks. But yeah, it makes me very sad for sure. You'll have to ignore the very ugly ride height on my car in this photo. This was end of the day, was packing up, I'd taken my battery out, and but it's the only time I've ever put my car on the famous Shift photo stand, so I thought I should put it in, because this was only last November I did this. Every other time it's been something I meant to do and then I run out of time, so I finally got to do it.
And they've been around for quite a while. I mean, for me it was also my favorite track, or one of the two favorite maybe, on my trip, but that was actually 7 years ago already.
Well,
Shift was around back then.
That was not long after it opened, because I think they said they've been open 6.5 years, so it'd have been around the time they opened.
All right,
but it was Google Translate, so it might have been. I
think it's a little bit longer, because I remember seeing some pictures of Shift on Subaya's blog.
Yeah.
Of his TCD and his DRB back in the days when I was driving a DRB and my teammate Ricardo was driving a TCD. So we were always looking at those pictures for inspiration. So yeah, they've been around for a long time.
They did actually open Shift Circuit 2 in 2018, I think it was, but it only lasted a couple of weeks because it was actually in a pool hall, I think, and there was some confusion between the guys that set up the RC track and the pool hall owner. And I don't know the details, but it was something to do with rent or something, and there was a misunderstanding, and basically it was going to cost a lot more, I think, or something along those lines. So it never really got going. So I'm hoping that they can find another location and get going again. But it's such a unique track in that it's in a shopping centre. Actually, there's a really good video by Robbie Nishida from a couple of weeks ago when he judged FD Shift, which I think we talked about last week. It's on his YouTube channel, which is Hey Man Robbie. So I definitely recommend, when you finish watching this, go and check that video out, because it shows you it gives you a really good idea of how good Shift is. And the surface has also always been my favourite and consistent. It's always the same every time you go. The style of driving changes a little bit, but this is the track where everyone does multiple things. They don't all just do the same style of driving. They all mix it up and have multiple chassis, and they do some crazy stuff with setup. Carter, who's in chat, has changed his car quite dramatically based on one of the things they were doing when we went in 2018. So yeah, I'm really sad it's closing, but I really hope somebody from that team can get another track open, and I really hope it's at least something they're looking into, which I would imagine they will be, because I think it's one of the most respected, if not the most respected, tracks in Japan. And whenever I was in Japan and I'd meet with Akivance, if I didn't go to Osaka to their office, they would meet me either at Shift or at RCC. And if they came to Shift, it was because they were giving me products to test, because it's the best track to test products in. So it was always fun. And last year I got to test the Jarvis XX and the Fledge motor. And yeah, I've never had a bad day there. The hardest day I've ever had drifting was my first time at Shift, which was one of the first days I was in Japan on my first trip, and going from only ever drifting on carpet and the occasional bit of asphalt to super slippery P-tile with the drivers of a level that I could never imagine was very eye-opening. But once you got the hang of it, it was just the best track for sure. And the layouts are always spectacularly good.
It's also one of those tracks where if you go there, you're very likely to run into one of the more famous RC drifters of Japan. I mean, Baba used to drive there a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if he still does.
He still was anyway. But I would always see Baba. I'd always see Kondo.
Kondo's been there around there a lot. Yeah,
he goes every Tuesday without fail. You also see Takahiro. He would often go there from Yokomo and now Rev D to promote products. And he was obviously involved with running the Formula D Shift competition. You've obviously got Sabaya as well, who owns Shift, who's probably the most respected RC drifter in Japan, I think. Yeah, it was just a tremendous place. And I think anyone that's drifted there, at least it's in their top 3 for sure, as far as I know anyway. So just have to cross my fingers and hope that something's coming. I did look into if there's any opportunity for me to make it out there for the last week that they're open, but it's closing in like 12 days or something, so it's just impossible. But I checked the bank balance and I tried to work out if there was any way I could sell some stuff and just buy a ticket and get a local hotel and just go there every day for a week. But unfortunately, it's just too unrealistic.
But the reason that it's closing, being that the rent is too high, that sort of gives me hope that maybe they're looking for something new.
That's what I was hoping
to. It's not that the owner wants to quit. It's not that nobody shows up anymore.
The track was always busy every week. Their busy day was Tuesday. That was sort of the hardcore guys would go on a Tuesday, and then Saturday was busy, but the Tuesday was like, if you turn up on a Tuesday, that's when you get their best drivers for sure, and that's when the famous drivers would be there. And even, I'd be there on a Tuesday night and you'd have Baba turn up half an hour before they closed just for a quick few laps because he had to work, but he still came in for a few laps.
Just to get some practice in.
Yeah, for sure.
And also Shift used to have quite a few of their own products, which is also cool. I've seen quite a few around here as well. Back when we did the CS, they were one of the first to have like steering extenders and things like that. All same style with the water cut or laser cut metal plates or aluminium plates, but
simple stuff, but it's effective. And it's always what I also really liked Tailslider. It wasn't just parts that they would make to sell and make some money. It was parts they were making because they wanted to do something and nobody made the part to do it, so they made it for themselves and made some available. I mean, most of the time when I went, I picked up small parts for people, and quite often they had none on the shelf, but they had 2 left in a drawer somewhere, so they grabbed them and helped us out. But yeah, every time I went, we always had an amazing time. And it's hard to sort of convey it because, unfortunately, I don't have that many photos and videos from Shift because I'm always enjoying driving too much there.
Same. It's one of those few tracks that I haven't really taken any pictures of.
I have a lot of pictures, but they're pictures of people's chassis and pictures of things that I wanted to record, not necessarily interesting things to share with people.
Yeah, exactly. One question on the chat is what surface they have.
It's just P-tile. You can actually see it in this picture at the bottom in front of the cars. It's just plastic tiles, but it's not a product I've been able to find in Europe because it's basically shopping centre flooring, but it's not the same stuff that we use here in Europe. or at least it's not something I've been able to find, because it's very hard and brittle, and again, there's no fire retardant and stuff in there because it doesn't have to have that in Japan.
Yeah, and funny enough, it is tiles, but you even see the lines between the tiles, but you don't feel them at all when you're driving.
No, you hear them.
Super smooth.
You can hear them when you're driving, but you never feel them. And I'm sure at some point they've polished this surface, but it's always been so consistent, and the grip level has always been the same. So it's ideal for me. It's this. If I could build any drift track in the world, it would be those tiles using the top line tires that they use there, because it's the most perfect combination I've ever encountered. And the speed is perfect, and it's low grip, but it's not impossible to drive. But it's the kind of place that, if I go back to the picture of the circuit, I mean, this is the, I think this was the most recent. Yeah, this was a layout I drove last year. And I think they're still running this for their Formula D shift competition, actually. But this, you can see that it's about building speed and then drifting. So it's not about flooring it out of a corner and going fast, because that doesn't get you anywhere. That makes you go really slow. It's the most sort of scale in terms of throttle control that I've ever encountered. If you floor it, you go nowhere. If you back off and build speed, you can build momentum. But it's
when we did the trip, we also had a little P-tile track at Chujin. They had like the main track, which was asphalt, the Yatabe asphalt, but they also had a little one next to it, which was the same P-tiles as shift. And I think they waxed it every now and then, or like polished it or something. They treated it a little bit, but that was there just to teach you throttle control. It was literally nothing more than an oval with maybe a few cones here and there.
Yeah.
And it was just there to teach you how to feel the difference between your wheels rolling and your wheels sliding or slipping, basically. The Korogashi technique, we called it back then, which is still super helpful to know.
Incidentally, if I remember right, Korogashi means rolling sound, and that's a reference to the P-tiles and the clacking noise your tires make as they go over the joints. So it's kind of essentially where, I'm not going to say where it all began, but where it's the same style as where it all began, for sure. But the standard of driving a shift is amazing, and it attracts drivers from, well, all over the world, but specifically all over Japan. And people travel quite far every week to go there. I mean, we've got guys like Shinji that would join us at shift every week, and it wasn't a huge drive for him, but he was going out of his way to make sure he was there every Tuesday, because it was definitely worth being there. So fingers crossed. All I have to say is I've just got to pray that they can get another track open, because I would deeply miss it, that's for sure. And I hope I can at least see all these guys at other tracks when I make it out there later this year. For sure. That's all I know.
Yeah, same. I was hoping to go back here, but we'll see. As long as the new track also has this kind of P-tile, it's going to be amazing.
Well, the thing I'm pretty sure is if this is the standard these guys have been used to, they're not going to drop their standard, for sure.
Good.
They might go to a different surface, but it'll be equal, I'm sure. But then, who knows? If they can't get something like that and they can get something else, maybe that's is better for them to at least have an option. But it's all speculation. Just have to hope.
Yeah, just follow the blogs and follow Instagram and Facebook and whatnot.
I'm already glued to them. I'm just hoping for a little slither that just says, we're looking at a new building or something like that. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, or out of the blue, there's going to be pictures of a brand new track. Like, oh yeah, we have something new. Here you go.
Yeah.
Almost like Iroha. That was also a bit of a surprise.
Yes, or maybe somebody else decides to come on and pay the extra rent and keep the place open. That's another option. It's not likely, but
if Formula Drift Shift would take off, then maybe that's a good thing to do.
I'd love to go and do a Formula Drift Shift. I know that much. But yeah, so that's kind of us for this week, I think.
I think so, yeah. Well, what are you up to this weekend? Drift Essex then?
Yes, this weekend I'm off to Drift Essex, so I have to finish putting my car together because I've run out of time recently with some other stuff going on. But I've got to get my car together. I'm also hoping to get the Travis together. I'm desperate to get that running just to try it out. I've got some ideas in my head that I want to do with it, and to do it, you've got to have it finished. So I've got to try and find some time over the next few days. But
all right. Yeah, for me, no driving this weekend.
no,
I'm looking into some of the events because last weekend I was like, maybe I should really drive a bit more.
yeah,
So yeah, let's see what's around. But I also filmed a new video for my YouTube channel last weekend.
oh cool.
So I'm probably going to be editing that and putting it online.
What's it
in the
about?
coming week. Another unboxing with a bunch of stuff from Japan.
Cool.
Basically, I take more time looking at it than actually getting to build stuff and selling stuff. So I think in a week or two from now, another box is going to arrive. So it's going to be full here.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping, hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have some more gear arriving. But I think for now this is me. So I'm just going to try and get my car dialed this weekend. Because like I say, Drift Essex is a track that I know I can trust the setup from to work everywhere else. What I've ended up doing with all the treated carpet recently is every time I go to a track, I come away with a different setup, and I kind of have to start again for the next track because it's totally different again, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Just a quick shout out while Tijs is wearing his nice hoodie. We've still got, we'll have ongoing merch available from the store that's linked below, I believe. I haven't got any new designs coming and not planning to do anything. So if you want to support the channel and give us something to help us invest in slightly better gear, then this is the way to do it, I guess. That and by if you can subscribe, that's always appreciated as well.
Yeah, and then in the meantime, I would say before next episode, if you have any events going on, if you have any questions you would like to ask, you can get as technical as you want. I'm not saying we can answer every question, but at least we're going to try.
For sure.
Yeah, send everything in. Pictures, questions, events.
It's better to send us a load of pictures and videos and stuff and let us select some than only send us one if you have the option. So if you're going to a cool event, take some pictures. Even if you're not the guy organizing it, just let us know what you've been up to.
Exactly.
And the more detail you give us, the better.
We're always super interested to see all the stuff that's going on in the world of RC drifting, and I'm sure we're not even aware of half of it. So
no, for
the
sure.
more you send in, the better.
Even over the last couple of weeks, I'm realizing there's a lot more out there than I thought I knew about. So that's kind of good.
I know, and then we can share it here, and even more.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thanks for joining us again, guys.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next week.
For sure. And hopefully with some nice, interesting topics.
I hope so. Bye-bye.
See you later. Bye.